Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the legislation. My name is Shari Brown, and I have been chosen to represent the public health advocacy group that deals with teenage pregnancy. I'm coming to you this evening in order to discuss our proposal, Operation Decrease Teen Pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy has been around for decades. In fact, many of our own grandparents and great grandparents were married and started out families as teenagers. However, times were different back then, and that lifestyle is no longer the norm in this day and age. Many would ask, what does this have to do with public health? My response to that is, it is our responsibility as well as our duty as public health representatives to not only educate, but also to improve the overall health and well being of our communities by preventing illnesses and potential health issues. In the United States, it currently has the highest rate of teenage pregnancy compared to the other Western industrialized nations. In 2015, out of the 1.9 million pregnancies that were reported, 440,000 of them belonged to teenage mothers. Teen mothers that range between the ages of 15 to 19 make up 82% of unattended pregnancies in the United States. Unattended pregnancies, for those who do not know, are pregnancies that are unplanned, and usually these pregnancies will result in either adoption at times. The teenagers would sometimes choose abortion as an option, and then some of these mothers will go on to raise their children. Um, how are these young women affected by these choices of becoming mothers? Well, for starters, they're less likely to complete an education, meaning that they're going to work low-paying jobs and possibly, live along the lines of poverty, which means that they're most likely to receive federal aid for longer periods of time than other mothers that are not teenagers, nor for those mothers who possibly have planned pregnancies. Um, Basically, it's going to cost more money for the federal government as well as the taxpayers to be able to support these young women because they're unable to support themselves and their children. Also, these teenagers tend to hide their pregnancies from their family members, from their parents. And the reason because most of them are scared, they're unsure of what to do. They know that they, are going to be taking on a big responsibility and having a baby. So, they try to do what they feel is right, which is hide their pregnancy from their family members. But this only is putting themselves as well as their babies at harm due to the fact that they're not receiving prenatal care. Also, studies have shown that children born to teenage mothers have health issues, and a lot of that probably is due to the fact that they receive no prenatal care during their pregnancy, but also some children exhibit low cognitive development as well as behavioral issues. Statistics also unfortunately show that the cycle repeats itself for teen mothers who have daughters, meaning that when a teen mother gives birth to a daughter, it is very likely that the daughter will also become a teenage parent. Um, Even though there were over 400,000 babies born to teen mothers in 2015, the number of teen pregnancy actually decreased. And the reason being, more teens were practicing abstinence, teens were taking birth control, and there's also special programs that were created in order to be able to educate the teens in different aspects of sex as well as pregnancy prevention, such as sexuality education, youth development, abstinence education, clinical-based programs, and programs for diverse population, meaning that everyone is basically able to come to these programs no matter their background, religion, ethnicity. There's a program that's developed for every person of every walk in life, their socioeconomic status. So basically, what I'm proposing is for the state to allow us to hold these programs monthly in various cities with the ultimate goal of establishing several locations throughout the state in order to give easy access to all the communities. We want everyone to get involved, the parents, the young women, as well as the young men, because they are equally responsible in this issue. Many of the programs are geared towards the young women due to the fact that they are the ones who get pregnant and they're the ones who, as well as their parents, are usually the ones that makes the choices in regards to whether the baby should be aborted, whether the baby should be put up for adoption, or whether the baby should be raised. However, our young men need to be educated as well to let them know these are the results of having sex, well, unprotected sex, and getting a girl pregnant. These are the different things that she has to go through, as well as putting some of the responsibility on the young men to ensure that they're using condoms if they're going to have sex. Or overall, we would, also discuss abstinence. Definitely we would be an advocate for um the teenagers to not be having sex. However, the only thing that we can do is prepare them and basically give them the opportunity to understand what their consequences are, but also provide them with resources in order to be able to um, assist them during this difficult time of being an adolescent. In addition to the programs, we would like to provide mentorship, counseling, and if possible, having parental involvement within the workshops and provide contraceptives. Um, at this point, I mean, the only thing really to say is that, we most certainly want our parents to get involved because that's where everything starts. Everything starts with the parent. However, it is our job to educate the community, but we just would hope that the parents would allow their children to be a part of what we are trying to do in order to be able to decrease the issue of teen pregnancy. Now, I know that there may be some questions in regards to who does this issue affect, what is the impact of the issue on the community, and why does this health issue need to be addressed? And I'll be more than happy to answer some of those questions. Basically, the teenager, their family, the community, is going to be affected by teenage pregnancies. Basically, the goal here is to decrease the amount of unwanted pregnancies and overpopulation, and to continue to have the younger parents who do not have the ability to become equal, um, basically equal parts of society. If their lives are cut short by becoming mothers and becoming fathers, it doesn't give them the full potential to be able to grow. As we know, many teenage parents, do not go on to further education. I mean, I personally have, members of my family that became parents at very young ages while they were teenagers, and they still don't have GED or high school diplomas, and they've been, of school age for at least 5 or 6 years. Um, Other things that we would like to be able to address are, basically who will be affected by the policy, how will the policy address the health issue, and what will change by enacting, this policy. And basically, the main thing here is to educate, provide contraceptives, counseling. Basically, the main goal is to decrease the number of abortions that are had, to basically decrease overall pregnancy in teenagers, but to increase education, mentorship, counseling. The main thing, is that we just want to be able to provide opportunities for, all of our young people to, promote them to be productive members of society. Um, Basically, what we're asking is for us to be able to have monthly programs in the various cities of the state, and with an ultimate goal of being able to establish several locations throughout the state in order to give easy access to all communities. We're wanting everyone to be able to have the opportunity, regardless of whether socioeconomic status, whether they live in the ghettos, the poverty-stricken communities, or whether they live in the suburbs, the more richer parts of town. Everyone should be privy to the same knowledge in order to be able to get a better handle on this issue. Also, what are the benefits and the cost of this policy? What are the risks of enacting the policy, and how will the lives of the people who are affected by this change if the policy is enacted? And basically, I feel that education is free. The cost that it takes to promote these events and provide the contraceptives is minimal compared to what would be spent in order to be able to aid these teenage mothers in taking care of their children, which by providing food, shelter, and basic needs. I mean, we have plenty of governmental programs set up, such as SNAP and TANF and WIC and, all of these things. I mean, but these are also things that the taxpayers are paying into as well, aside from just the federal government. And by decreasing the amount of teenage pregnancies we have, will also decrease the need for these programs. Not to say that they may not still be needed by others. However, the longevity of how long a person is on the program, as we've discussed previously, that teenage mothers are twice as likely to stay on assistance longer due to the fact that they have minimal resources available to them in order to be able to take care of themselves and their children. And basically, the risks are that teenage pregnancy rates could still increase. However, based on the information provided, when people are educated and people are given resources in order to be able to make things better for themselves, generally they're going to take that advice. They're going to, utilize those resources, and they're going to be able to make better decisions because they're aware of the consequences of what will happen if they don't. Um, Also, it will provide resources for teenagers to make, like I said, better choices and be able to live their full potentials. Um, and our overall goal is to be able to want to increase, their chances of success in life. So, again, I come to you today just to ask you if you could just take in everything that we have just discussed here in this moment and think about what it would do for the lives of these teenagers to be able to have all resources and education provided to them, to be able to have a place to turn to be able to have someone to listen to them, as well as let them know the ins and the outs and the goods and bads of if they decide to have sex, and how to do it responsibly, so that they're able to live their full lives and become parents when they're ready to become parents, when they find people that they love and that they're ready to share their lives with, and not have to make tough decisions of giving up babies for adoption or having to have abortions. So again, I just would like to say that I want to thank you for your time, and I hope that I was able to reach some of you today to understand where we are coming from and why we're fighting so hard in order to be able to get this, in order to be able to, get this legislation passed. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time, and have a good evening.